The second channel of Malchut is energy. Energy is about experience, and experience is about the embodied levels of the field. So it's actually about God through the body, God through reality. And this is a place where we're getting creation itself. So it's all of the conditioning, it's all of the particular realities of the self, right? And in awareness, we really get into the empty fields, into the fields that hold everything. But in energy, we really get into the particular, right? We get into the self, we get into the conditioning, we get into the psychology, we get into both the wounding and the gifts, and these particular ways of being. And that's really important because just like we can be expansive, we can also get very specific, and learning how to meet God from this place, right? From the place of particular understanding of reality, right? This particular being, that particular being, this particular pattern, learning how to actually train ourselves to be in this embodied reality where we can meet things as they come. This is where we're starting to integrate processes back into the God realm. Because in the consciousness space, we're developing our capacity to know, but in the energy, we are developing our capacity to feel. These are all about the feeling states. And a lot of times in different societies, we're trained to feel less. We're trained to shut off our sensory experience, our embodied experience. And at Malchut, we want to heal some of that. And we actually want to invite our participants to feel more, right? And we see that the space of feeling, this is part of the divine process as well. So there's no experience that is off limits, right? And we're really wanting to invite this realm of experience to our spiritual process, because there's something about experience that is an embodied wisdom. And this is very important for the soul's journey on earth, right? We're not just here to learn content and learn things from the books and then have them in our memory bank, but we are actually here to go through certain experiences, so then they're imprinted into our system. And this is quite important, that we learn how to process, how to meet, and how to digest our experiences. So this is a fundamental part of the energy channel, is working with our personal selves, working with our conditioning, working with our wounds. It's getting into the psyche. It's being unafraid to see what is there. So this is, inner child work, ancestor work, attachment wounds, all sorts of things like that. And we have different frameworks that we've developed around how to learn to understand our own experience, right? How do we honor our own experience? How do we know what we are experiencing? And how do we permission that to come forward more, right? One of the things in energy is that there's a spectrum, right? There's spectrum of feeling. Sometimes we can feel things very lightly, and sometimes we can feel things very intensely. The interesting thing about that is that it actually is not dependent on external reality, because certain people can have the same situation happen to them, and some people will really feel it, and other people will maybe feel it a little less. So it's not necessarily dependent on external circumstance, but it's more about my internal reality, right? It's what's happening for me on the inside. It's my previous experiences and how this experience is built on that. It's about my own capacity to open up to myself and to open up to feeling. So this is all under the form of energy. And we do very fun practices in our school to also develop our ways of seeing the world through energy, right? So not just seeing it clearly, but actually learning how to feel the world, learning how to feel one another, feel ourselves. And this place of the feeling state, of the embodiment, right? This is a core aspect of God as well. And what we get to in our school through the channels of consciousness and energy, we actually then get to a place of integration and unity. We see consciousness and energy as the two fundamental channels of creation. We call it the cosmic power of creation when these two unite. And we learn how to do that in ourselves, in our own systems. How do you unite the parts of us that know, the parts of us that are aware, and how to unite with the parts that feel, with experience, right? So a lot of times we use a language of awareness and experience, and we unite those two. So this is part of the teaching that we do here. Sometimes we call it that the God field, when consciousness meets experience or energy. You can think about that in a meditation sit, right? When we're sitting and we're developing our awareness channels, and then all of a sudden an experience arises, whether it's a thought or a sensation or an emotion. And as this experience is arising, when I have my awareness facilities on, the awareness can actually meet that experience. And when awareness meets experience, it's like a lovemaking situation where all of a sudden there's a liberation that happens. Because there's something about these two, about awareness and experience, the cosmic creators, right, that they're actually constantly wanting to be in unity. So when I bring my experience and I bring my awareness and I let these two meet, this is part of the liberatory power that I have. So this is part of the training that we have in Malchut around how to integrate consciousness and energy so that we can do this greater healing work of liberation.